Good morning. Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I've been AWOL for about a year. I got divorced last year and moved into an apartment, and it's taken me this long to kind of get myself organized and get myself back in the right space to be able to move on with my channel. But I'm back. I'm so excited. Today we're going to make a bunch of cherry baked goods. So we're going to make some Tart cherry streusel bars. If you guys have watched me before, you know I normally make those at Christmas time. Some cherry turnovers, cherry cream cheese Danish, and maybe some cherry toaster strudels. Depends on how far we get today. So I am going to grab the rest of my ingredients, get me an apron, and we'll get started. Alright, so as I said, we're going to make a bunch of cherry baked goods today. So I have a friend who has a friend that has a gigantic cherry tree in her yard. And so after they picked everything they wanted, my friend and I went over and we picked a ton of cherries. I would have picked more if I had more freezer space, but right now I just have my apartment refrigerator with just the little freezer on top, so not a ton of space, but we're going to use up some of those cherries today. So we're going to start with the Tart cherry streusel bars. I will link all these recipes in the description box at the end, but we're going to put these together today. So I love my apartment. It's just a little two-bedroom apartment. It's perfect for me, except for the kitchen. I need a much bigger kitchen, but we'll make this work. Okay. We're going to use our food processor to mix up the crust for our streusel bars. Someplace I have a full-sized food processor. I don't know where it is at the moment. It's probably in a storage unit. So we're going to use my little one, which means we'll just have to run things through a couple of times to get through everything. So we are going to start with, so to make our base for our crust, we're going to use 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, butter, almond paste, and almond extract. So what I'm going to do is kind of try to divide this into 3 or 4 rounds. And I have here, it's 1 hunk, but it's 2 sticks of butter. So I'm going to do basically a half a stick at a time. So I'm just going to cut it in pieces, put it in my food processor. And I found that it works better for me if I put the butter in first. You can put in whatever order you need to, but I feel like for me it works better when I put the butter in first. Then we're going to add our almond paste, which you've never seen it. You can buy it like this. You can buy it in, I think I saw one that's like a skinnier, taller tube. But all this is just your almond paste. We're going to open that up and we're going to add about a quarter of this into our food processor as well. So it looks like this. Again, we're just going to drop these pieces into our food processor. Then add our first cup of flour. I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add the salt and baking powder to this first batch here. So we need, oh, that's a tablespoon. So we're going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. Alright, so now I'm just going to grind this up and we'll dump it on this bowl and we'll just repeat the process till we have all the ingredients in. And you just want to let that go in your food processor until everything is nice and crumbly. We'll go ahead and add our almond extract to this second batch. We need a half a teaspoon. I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to pour. Yeah, that's close enough. That's probably way more than a half a teaspoon, but that's okay. Alrighty, there we go. There's the rest of it. Put that in there. Alright, now we're going to take 2 cups of this streusel base and we're going to put it to the side because we're going to use this as our streusel topping. If I can get a hold of it. Alright, we'll just set that to the side now. We're going to start our oven preheating to 350. We're just going to separate our base here. We're just going to put it on our cookie sheet. I use some parchment paper just because it's a little easier to get out once it's done. But we just want to divide this equally between these 2 pans. We're going to spread it out onto our sheets here and just press it down. Because this is going to make the crust for our streusel bars. You can also use a glass. You can use the bottom of your mixing or your measuring cup to kind of smash that down. Whatever you want to do. Just need it to be fairly flat and pushed in together. Oops, so that stuck to my measuring cup. Okay. So when our oven's preheated, we're going to stick these in for 15 to 18 minutes until they are brown. All right, so our oven is preheated. We're going to put our pans of the base in, and we're going to let those cook about 15 minutes. We don't want them to get too brown. We just want them to kind of start browning on the edges, because it's going to go back in the oven once we have the topping on. So let's do 15 minutes and we'll see if we need more. Okay, so now we're going to start on our filling, and we're going to use 3 cups of frozen tart cherries. Now, these obviously are the ones that I picked. I froze them in 3-cup baggies because I knew that was how I would use them. You can buy frozen tart cherries at the grocery store. Those are what I typically use when I don't have my own cherries. All right, now we're going to add 1.5 cups of sugar. We're going to add 6 tablespoons of water, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is what's going to help our sauce thicken up. So the recipe actually calls for 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. I'm just going to use this organic bottled juice that I have. 1, 2. And the lemon juice does not affect the flavor. And then we want to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay. So now we want to put this over medium heat. We're just going to let this cook until everything is melted. We want our sugar to dissolve, we want our cherries to, we want our butter to go ahead and melt, we want our cherries to cook down enough to break apart, and then we're going to start timing it. The time is kind of up to how the process goes. All right, so here's our base coming out of the oven. I'm just going to set those on cooling racks while we finish our filling. So our butter is just about all melted, so we can go ahead and start our timing. So this takes around 8 minutes. What we want is for our cherries to kind of start popping, and our sauce will start to get thicker. And when this starts thickening up, you do want to go ahead and keep stirring it so that the sugar mixture doesn't stick on the bottom. All right, so you can see this is starting to get fairly thick. I'm going to keep cooking this for another minute or 2. All right, so I'm going to just use a measuring cup to kind of separate out the filling. Just gonna pour our filling mixture. We're We're just going to pour our filling mixture over the top of our cooked base. And we want to, ouch, spread it to the edges like that. Now this, you could probably double the cherry filling portion if you want more cherries on this. I kind of like it like this. But you could, like I said, double it if you want the cherry itself to be thicker on this streusel. Okay, there's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our streusel that we reserved and we're going to sprinkle it over the top of each of these pans. Oops. Or pour some on the floor, whichever. Oh, you guys know I'm messy, so. Okay. Just kind of get that as even as you can. Okay, now the one thing that I always forget to buy is the next ingredient is you want to use a cup of sliced almonds and put over the top of this. I always forget to buy the almonds, so mine will not have almonds. But now I'm going to put these back in the oven and we're going to cook them still at 350. We're going to let them bake for about 30 minutes. The topping will get all nice and bubbly and it will smell so amazing. So back in the oven these go. And then when they come out, I'm just going to put them on these cooling racks. We'll let them cool completely while we finish the rest of the recipes that we're doing today. And then we'll add our frosting to them. You guys, trying to fit all of the kitchen items that I have in this little apartment has been torture. Okay, next. Cherry turnovers. Now, I am using store-bought puff pastry. If you want to make your own, which one day I do want to try to make my own. Today is not that day, so we're going to use store-bought, and we are going to just go with that. I'm going to let these thaw just a little bit more. I had them in the refrigerator overnight, but they're still a little bit frozen. If we have to, we can stick them in the microwave for just a few seconds. So actually, while these thaw, we're going to go ahead and make the filling for our turnovers. And the recipe is almost exactly the same as what we just did for our streusel. The only difference is that this recipe does not use lemon juice. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting things in there. This recipe calls for 2 cups of cherries and it makes 4 turnovers. Like I said, mine are in 3 cups, so we're just going to make 6. So we'll put our cherries in our pan. We're going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Oh my goodness, that's heavy. This is not going to be nearly as sweet as the streusel. You want to add a tablespoon of cornstarch. Don't know where I put my tablespoon. There it is. And we're going to add a tablespoon of butter. Oh wait. No. forgetting to increase my recipe here. Need 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Oops. 1.5 tablespoons of butter and a pinch of salt. Just put our salt in here. No water in this one. Actually, I forgot that the cream cheese Danish recipe that I'm using actually just has you use a can of cherry pie filling. I'm going to use my delicious cherries that I picked and pitted and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and double this and just make all of it at once. Okay, so we've got our streusel coming out of the oven. Look so good and they smell amazing. So we're just going to set those over here. We're going to let them cool while we do the rest of our recipes, and then we'll frost those at the end. And our filling for these other recipes is getting close. So I'm going to go ahead and start the puff pastry piece. Now, I have never used puff pastry before. It's kind of being a pain, but maybe I just didn't let it thaw enough. So what I want to do is use my pizza cutter and cut this into 4 squares. Our filling is almost ready. Let it cook just another minute or so. And we're going to make an egg wash to seal the edges of our turnovers. Hopefully I can find all of the cooking utensils that I need for this. I'm going to use, it says 2 tablespoons. I'm going to use approximately a 1/3 cup measure. And we're going to put our filling on there. Oop. That might still be too runny. So we want to do an egg wash along the edges so that we can get this to seal. These might not be the prettiest things in the world, but I'm sure they're going to be good. All right, we're going to fold our pastry over so that we've got a triangle shape. We're going to use our fork and we're going to crimp those edges. I might need to let that thicken up a little bit more because the sauce is running, or the filling, I mean, is running everywhere. And then we're going to put this, I'm going to put this on a sheet with a parchment paper. Alright, let's put this back on the stove. Actually, that's probably not what I need. Probably what I need to do is let it cool for a few minutes so that it thickens up. So the oven needs to be at 375 for our turnover, so I'm going to go ahead and up our temperature. See if I can get these to fold together a little bit better. So egg wash along the edges. And then we'll crimp it with our fork. And filling is going everywhere. Goodness. going to try putting the egg wash on first so that it doesn't take so long, and see if that helps. If I can stop the filling from running everywhere. There's our first tray. Oops, I'm not sure how to do that. So hopefully this batch turns out a little better and I don't tear up the pastry sheets. I don't really want to unroll very well. There we go. This one looks a little better. Oops. We'll go ahead and cut this one into 4. Thinking that maybe I didn't need to double this filling recipe. I think I'm going to have a lot left. That's okay. I can use them for something. We're going to put those in the oven. We're going to bake them at 375 for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to start those at 20 and we'll see how they do. While those are baking, I'm going to go ahead and start making the cream cheese filling for our danishes. So we're going to use, if I can get it open, we're going to use 1 8-ounce brick of cream cheese. We wanted this softened. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we're going to add some vanilla and some almond extract. And for our extract, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of almond and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Here's our vanilla. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn on my stand mixer and I'm just going to let that mix until it's nice and creamy. One thing I forgot to do was put egg wash on the top of the turnover, so I did that just now. Okay, hopefully these are going to unroll nicely. Oh, they're not. All right, well, we're just going to do our best, like we did with the last. Okay, so for this, we're going to cut this into 6 rectangles. Wow, those are actually about the same size. Okay, let's see what this is. All right, so I've got a cookie sheet with some parchment paper on it. We're going to go ahead and just transfer these little pieces that I've cut. Oops, come on here. So we're going to take our fork and we're just going to stab some holes in it, but staying away from our edge. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of our cream cheese mixture in the center of these sheets. So the reason that we poked holes in the center and not the edges is that poking those holes will keep the center flat for our filling and then let the edges puff up. So now we're going to add about 2 tablespoons on top of our cream cheese for, whoa, of our cherries. And of course it's going everywhere. So I'm going to use my spoon to try and kind of put these all, get stuff in the center because it's kind of running. So I probably should have let my cherry filling get a little thicker, but that's okay. These will still taste good even if they don't look as pretty. And then we're going to egg wash the edges just so that it'll give them a nice shiny brown look when they are done baking. I'm thinking it would have been easier to do this first, and maybe the instructions said that and I missed it. So the temperature is going to have to be more, the temperature is 400 for these, so I'm going to have to wait until our turnovers are completely done. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just use up the last of this last sheet here. We'll do some of the danishes and another couple turnovers maybe, based on what I have left in terms of my cream cheese mixture. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and egg wash these first because I think, oh, after I stab them. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and egg wash the edges of these before I put the filling and the cream cheese on, because I think it will be easier. So I had enough of my cream cheese to go ahead and do all 6 of these with the cream cheese. Oh, they look pretty good. I can't tell if they're done. Actually, the puff pastry does not look done. Choose this one. Yeah, they are not quite done. Let's give those about 5 more minutes. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and clean things up a little bit, load up my dishwasher. So I'm going to take my leftover leftover cherry filling. Don't know why that was beeping. I'm going to put my leftover cherry filling in this bowl and I'll just stick it in the refrigerator and I'll use it for something this week. Maybe I'll buy some more puff pastry and make my toaster strudels. I don't know. We'll see. But I definitely don't want to waste this filling. Not only is it delicious, but I worked hard picking those cherries and pitting them, so we're not wasting any of it. Okay. They're very brown, but I think the pastries are done now. So we'll go ahead and take those out. Yummy. We'll set our oven up to 400 and we'll let it preheat, and then we'll go ahead and get our danishes in the oven. All right, while we're waiting on that, we'll go ahead and mix up our glaze. Now, each of these has their own recipe. I'm just going to make a lot of the plain recipe that goes on these bars, and we'll just use that on all of them. But the recipes that I link at the bottom, they'll have the full actual frosting recipe. So we're going to use powdered sugar, we're going to use some almond extract, and some heavy whipping cream. And we're just going to whisk it all together until it's the consistency that we want. And like I said, there are actual measurements, but I usually just kind of eyeball it until it looks the way I want it to look, and it's the consistency that I want. Cream. I am going to go ahead and put the glaze on our bars, and I just pick it up with the whisk and just kind of drizzle it over. You can use as much or as little as you like. I like sweet stuff, so I tend to use more. Our oven's ready, so finish this one and then we'll go ahead and get those danishes in to bake. So there's the first pan. So these are going to go in the oven for 15 minutes. We want to rotate those pans halfway through, so I'm going to set my timer for 7. And then when it goes off, I'll flip the pans to the other rack, and then we'll set our timer for 8. So that is done. So let's go ahead and frost up our other bars. So I'm taking one of these pans to work with me tomorrow. I made some a few weeks ago after we first picked all these cherries, and everybody loved it. So I'm going to take it in again, and then I'm going to keep some and I'm going to give some to my friend. And I used all the frosting on these two, so I'll have to make some more for the other recipes. Ooh. Yummy. Oh, some of the filling is burning. Oh my goodness, these look good. Okay, so I'm gonna let these cool here on the pan for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna take them off and put them on the cooling racks. And once they're completely cool, we'll go ahead and frost these, and then we'll be done. So I'll be back here in just a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and get these frosted. Frosting's kind of thickened up. That's okay though. So an edge broke off of one of these and I ate it and it was delicious. So good to know. And I think if I make these again, I will just make sure that the filling is a little bit thicker. And the recipe calls for pie filling, so you could always just use store-bought pie filling if you didn't want to mess with the fresh cherries. Okay, we are done. So we've got our 2 pans of our Tart cherry streusel bars. We've got 12 of our little danishes. And we've got 6 of our turnovers. Everything turned out great. I'm so excited. Okay, so I've got a skylight right here that's making some weird shadows, so I hope you guys can see me okay. So I'm gonna let the frosting set on all of these. I'm gonna package everything up. I'm gonna call my friend and see if he wants anything. I'm sure he does. And I will see you guys on the next video. I'm so excited to be back. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos that I had produced prior, and I hope that you will enjoy the ones that I'm going to come up with. One of my big things right now is trying to figure out how to cook for just me. It's difficult because I'm used to cooking for a big group of people, or me and my ex-husband, which he was very physically active, so he ate quite a bit. Now it's just me and I don't eat that much. So that's one of the things I'll be working on moving forward, is coming up with ideas for meals for just one person. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you are not currently subscribed, if you would subscribe, it would help me out, and I would appreciate that very much. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks guys. Bye.